Ako ninyo. Good afternoon, class. Good afternoon, class.
Afternoon, Miss.
Afternoon, Miss.
Now, when I check your semi-final, gahi you came over. I do not know if you were listening. You know what? The number one, I just got it from the internet. But how many times did I told you it is already a guide for how you will solve it. Ang nasa internet, shortcut in tao na. Oy. So you are going to solve problem number one in terms of the binomial approximation, that is making use of the formula for binomial, and then you are going to solve it using the CCF factor, that is continuity correction factor. Ang naa sa inyong gikopya diha, that is shortcut. But then, do not give me that solution nga naa inyong kinopya, because I want you to place the computed value of what you have substituted before you will have the answer. Pero ang inyong gibuhat, gikopya na to ninyo, because there is an answer, there is a substitution of the values, but then you did not place the computed value of each of the step. Mao na, anong uban nakahimo man? Ang kanang uban nga wa maminaw, very happy that they had copied it, pero how many times did I told you I want the computed value? Aside from the substitution of the values to the formula, I want the computed value, because how will I know nga you know how to solve? Pila ra gyud pagkopya sa answer? No. So that is what you're doing, and then you are missing the chance nga everything is there. All you have to do is just to expand what you have copied and to place the value of each of the step before you will have the final answer. Ano inyo pangopya ra ko dinyo? I have told you many times, so dili na ako problema. I did not give a credit. Yan na panay number 2. Number 2 also is there. Pero you will have to place the computed value. What I mean by the substitution and the computed value is that if you will have this one as lambda unsa na raised to the power of 1, then you will have e. So you will have to substitute the value of the lambda raised to the power of what is the power multiplied by the e, then what is the substitution of the values, and what is the product of that before you will have the final answer. Kopya ng answer, kopya ng substitution. Mostly there were, I think, sa number 2, letter A nga the probability at 0, diretso lang answer, and letter F, there were mga 5 kabuok, mga kinopyahay na kaya may mga solution. Anong parehas man yun? A o F? Ang wala. Ay, mo, pagmahay mga hagbong mo, kaya I know as to who are copying or not. Kahit kayo mag-uhaw minutes sa ikan sa sinugdanan, naging una ko, place your substitution of the formula, the computed value, before the answer. Ano magtuman mo sa inyong gusto? Kamahim mo sa inyong grado, if that is the case. You will not follow instructions. Yan, madawat ako answer. How do I know? You know. Okay, the last topic that we are going to discuss about distribution is the exponential distribution. You have exponential distribution. It is in your LMS. Yes, Abinido. What do you want? Abinido? Oh, Abinido, you are raising your hand. What do you want? Is there any question?
Yes, Miss. Doon ko, Miss.
Kadungog.
Doon ko. Okay, Miss. So, Miss, last time, Miss, baka na closean ko sa kuan, Miss, kay naglag ang internet, Miss, then kuan ka ng 2 minutes na ko sa napas na ko sa kuan, pero na-send ko sa email na check ra nimo.
How many times did I told you? Unsa una nako? How many times? So were you listening when I explained about that one? Were you listening? Kapoy nagbalik-balik ka nagikasinugdanan eh. Ingnon man taninyo ana nga kuan. How many times did I told you nga anang mga wala ka ko kay pasangil lang nga kuanan. Nga kuanan sa internet. How many times? Nga unsay akong kuanan na. Kapilan ko mag-explain ana unsa una nako eh. Tagbalik-balik ka na during our kuan. 6 oras. Pila naman ko ninyo nag-explain, ana, if sige lang kog repeat, ana. Pagbutang mo diha kuan, tape recorder if you are not listening. I did not check it because I will not check it at the same time when I check the kuan kay dili sayon para nako. I will be checking the LMS and then mobalhin pa ko dito sa Gmail. Wa man kay kurong ka-attend sa kuan sa katong seminar sa San Carlos kay tungod kadaghan mag-check pa ko, maari pa ko balik per speakers niya kana lang gyud nahon akong Gmail. Ang akan mga email na ko nga mga answer. Kanaw sa man ta mo gi unsa may akong gisulti ninyo na how did I explain that one? Dili ka ino ko ninyo naka-check na ba ko ba ay ko dali-dalian ninyo parte ana because kuan wala man mo follow sa kuan. Sapot ninyo di mo. Kung dili magud mo maminaw man di mo kibaw unsa gikan sa from the very beginning, from the orientation, i-explain ko na. Pila naka-test ang nangagi, i-explain ko na. Nya hantud karon mangutana gyapon mo. Okay, we'll go on to the new lesson, exponential distribution. You have that there in your LMS. Taw na ini ko klase. Okay, you have that exponential distribution. Only last sa distribution, ha? Because we will have the remaining two topics for the finals, kato ng correlation of regression. Okay, your exponential distribution is one of the widely used continuous distribution. So it is a continuous distribution. So kanang pag-determine nila sa kuan parte sa COVID kanang pagkuan nila kung unsa the basis for their statistics is the making use of the exponential distribution. It is often used to model the time elapsed between events. We will now mathematically define the exponential distribution and derive its mean and expected value. So again, you will go back to the mean and the expected value of the data. Then we will develop the intuition for the distribution and discuss several interesting properties that it has. So since it is a continuous variable, the data is said to have an exponential distribution with a parameter of lambda is greater than 0, shown as exponential lambda if its PDF is given by f of x, then you have x that will be equal to lambda e raised to the power of minus lambda x. So that is the formula, a very simple formula for the exponential distribution. And then since we have here mean and standard deviation, you will have again to go back to what is expected value, mean and expected value. Now the exponential distribution is often concerned with the amount of time until some specific event occurs. So, concerned with the amount of time until some specific event occurs. For example, the amount of time that is beginning now until an earthquake occurs has an exponential distribution. So your time will be the present. And then we do not know as to kanus aman mag-earthquake. So that is why it is an exponential distribution. Other examples include the length in minutes of long-distance business telephone calls and the amount of time in months and a car battery lasts. So, for example, the battery, why is it exponential? Because we have in the battery, if you will like buy the battery, you have the life of the battery. But we do not know when it will be consumed because it depends upon many factors. So mabita na when they determine as to what will happen to the COVID, kung mas daghan pa ba or what, they're using exponential because they are determining it from this time and then to a specific time, it will be again pouring. So Another example is that the value of the change that you have in your pocket or purse approximately follows an exponential distribution because you cannot have it fixed. So at this time, this is your change in your purse, but then later on, makakibaw ni daghan ba or ni gamay. Values for an exponential random variable occur the following way. There are fewer large values and more small values. For example, the amount of money customers spend in one trip to the supermarket follows an exponential distribution. There are more people who spend small amounts of money and fewer people who spend large amount of money. So it is not parehas. It depends. So the exponential distribution is widely used in the field of reliability. So if it is in the field of reliability, it is more on dealing of the amount of time a product lasts. So this is what is being used in the production area. So we have here, let X, an example, the amount of time in minutes a postal clerk spends with his or her customer. So you have the time when a postal clerk will be spending with the customer. The time is known to have an exponential distribution with the average amount of time equal to 4 minutes. That is the problem. The time is known to have an exponential distribution with the average amount of time equal to 4 minutes. X is a continuous random variable since time is measured. It is given that the mu or the mean represented as mu as equal to 4 minutes. To do any calculations, you must follow, you must know first M, letter M, which is a decay parameter. Now, wherein your decay parameter is equal to the reciprocal of the mean. So if you are given the mean, and then you will have, or you can solve for the decay parameter. So in our case, since we are given a mean of 4 minutes, the decay parameter is equivalent to 0.25. That is 1 all over 4, which is 4 minutes. Now the standard deviation, which we know before is represented as sigma, in our case for the exponential distribution, our sigma or standard deviation is equivalent to the mean. So do not forget that the mean mu is just equivalent to the standard deviation represented as sigma. The distribution x more or less equivalent to the exponential distribution of the decay parameter. Therefore, our x will have an exponential parameter of 0.5 or our decay parameter is 0.25. The probability density function, that is your PDF, is represented as f of x is equal to the decay parameter times A, Euler's number, raised to the power of minus m times x. And remember that your Euler's number is 2.718 and so on. It's more or less the same as your pi where you know the value of pi. So it is constant. Now going back to this, we will have the problem. The amount of time spouses shop for anniversary cards can be modeled by exponential distribution with the average amount of time equal to 8 minutes. So you are given the mean. That is the amount of time, 8 minutes. With the distribution, write the distribution, state the probability density function, and graph the distribution. Okay. Now you have the time. So you have the time given, the time spent waiting between events is often modeled using the exponential distribution. So we have For example, suppose an average of 30 customers per hour arrive at the store and the time, first example, we will go to the first one. The amount of time spouses shop for anniversary cards can be modeled by exponential distribution with the average amount of time equal to 8 minutes. Write the distribution, state the probability density function, and graph the distribution. So in this problem, since you are given the mean, you will have to determine first the decay parameter. So your decay parameter is 1 all over 1 all over the mean. So your decay parameter is m, represented as m, not the mean, is equal to the reciprocal of the mean. That's 1 all over mu. So that will be 1 all over 8. So pila may 1 all over 8 ni? 1 all over 8 is equal to what? Okay, Ninyera. Ninyera.
0.125 miss or 0.13.
Okay, 0.1. We'll have that 100 place 0.13. So that is your decay parameter m. Now, since it is asking for, you give the distribution notation. So the distribution notation is x, more or less equal to axp. Then you have the m. So that will be x more or less equal to the exp, then 0.113. So mo na gipangay distribution notation. Ang probability distribution probability density function, the PDF, is equal to f of x is equal to the decay parameter times E, the Euler's constant, minus m raised to the power of minus mx. So therefore, ang imong probability density function, the representation is f of, pila man to inyong x? What is your x of the problem? Because your representation of the PDF is f of x is equals to your decay parameter of 0.213, then your Euler's number minus, you will have the, what is this, decay parameter 0.13 times x. What is your x? Yun sa akong yung pag-answer again. Tanawa-hawa man yung mag-naayag og solution kaning ko ano man yung the amount of time spouses shop for anniversary cards can be modeled by an exponential distribution with the average amount of time equals to 8 minutes. Ang iyang gipangayo is write only the distribution. So how will you write the distribution? State the probability density function and then make the graph. Never mind the graph because that is just an example. So how will you answer it? Ang inyong answer, ang inyong distribution, your distribution will be x is more or less exponential distribution times your parameter m. So ang imong solution actually is just the value of m. And then you will substitute the value of the 0.13. So your x is more or less equal to axp, then 0.13. Mao na siya distribution notation. Kaya gipangayo mang probability density function, so it will be f of x is equal to your decay parameter nga e raised to the power of minus mx. So since you know your m, your decay parameter nga 0.13 times e, the Euler's constant, which is raised to minus m times x. So i-substitute ninyo ang value sa m, then you will have just x because what might be specified. So that is just a representation of probability density function. out, you will represent your distribution notation of the problem and the probability density function. Okay, we'll go to the next example also. So we have here the time spent waiting between events is often modeled using the exponential distribution. For example, suppose that an average of 30 customers per hour arrives at a store, and the time between arrivals is exponentially distributed. So in letter A, on average, how many minutes elapse between two successive arrivals? So you answer letter A first. Look at the question, ha? Ako naman ay solution, I will just go on average, how many minutes elapse between two successive arrivals? So in letter A, since we expect 30 customers and given a 30 customers to arrive per hour, and then we are going to answer it in minutes. So we expect that the average one customer to arrive every 2 minutes on, so 60, so you have 30 customers. 30 customers man per hour. Ang imong 1 hour is 60 minutes. So if you are going to determine as to how many customers will arrive every 2 minutes on the average, pila man. So kay 30 minutes, 60 minutes man ang 1 hour, nga 30 man. So it is expected that we expect an average of one customer to arrive every 2 minutes. Did you get it? One customer will arrive every 2 minutes. Really every minute, every 2 minutes. And then in letter B, when the store first opens, how long on average does it take for 3 customers to arrive? When the store first opens, how long on average does it takes for 3 customers to arrive? So you have in your letter B, since one customer arrives every 2 minutes on the average, it will take what? 6 minutes on average for 3 customers to arrive. Did you get it? Based from the given value nga, ang yang given is an average of 30 customers will arrive every hour. 30 customers per hour. And then if you are going to determine how many minutes elapsed between two successive arrivals, you will have it. We expect one customer to arrive every 2 minutes. And then for letter B, when the store first opens, how long on the average does it take for 3 customers to arrive, to look at customer? So in letter B, since the customer arrives every 2 minutes on the average, one customer every 2 minutes on the average, yan, tulungan sila ka customer. And then, tulong ka customer every 2 minutes. So therefore, the time will be 6 minutes. Kaya usa ka customer is 2 minutes. Now letter C, after a customer arrives, find the probability that it takes less than 1 minute for the next customer to arrive. Letter C, after a customer arrives, find the probability that it takes less than 1 minute for the next customer to arrive. Okay, we will have to let X be the time between arrivals in minutes. So that is what we are going to solve for. Our mu is equal to 2. That is the mean. So if our mean is 2, we will have our decay parameter is 1 all over 2. That will give us 0.5. The cumulative distribution function, mo na kung pangayoon ang cumulative distribution function, your P of X is less than x, which is equal to m minus e raised to the power of minus mx. So if x is the probability of x is less than 1, so you will have delta 1 minus your Euler's constant raised to the power of minus mx. So that will give you a cumulative distribution function of 0.3935. Now, if you want to look at the graph of this, wherein you will have here, you can see that ang shaded area in the graph represents the probability of 0.3935. You will have the, what is this? The vertical line is representing the decay parameter, which is 0.5. So you have it as 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, 0.5. And then we have here the probability of 1, then there is increasing 1, 5, 10, 15. So we have here a probability of 1 minus your Euler's constant raised to the power of the decay parameter in 1. So you can see the shaded area of the 0.5 and the 1. So that represents the probability of 0.3935. And then in letter D, a question, you have after a customer arrives, find the probability that it takes more than 5 minutes for the customer to arrive, for the next customer to arrive. So in letter D, your representation of the probability will be x greater than 5. And if we have it as 1 minus b of x less than 5, that is greater, 1 minus 1 minus the Euler's constant with a given value of 0.5 times the x equivalent to 5. So you will get an answer of 0.0821. Ang kanang butang ko ipasabutan ng inyong computed value is, if you will have that representation nga e raised to the power of minus m, which is 0.5 times 5 times x, inyo nang ibutang ang inyong value, that will be 1 minus pila na ang e raised to the power of minus mx. That is what I want to see in your computations. After the substitution of the values, you place the computed value. Now, in your graph, you can see nga ang inyong x is from 1, it goes on to 5, 10, 15. Then the next one is 5, but then since it is greater than 5, so ang shaded area is from 5 going on to the right side because it is greater than 5, but it is not definite as to where it will stop. So it is greater than 5. So you can see the shaded area. Now in letter A, we have it is an exponential distribution reasonable for the situation. In letter A, it is asking for whether it is reasonable. Okay, we have here. The model assumes that a single customer arrives at a time which may not be reasonable since people might shop in groups, leading to several customers arriving at the same time. It also assumes that the flow of customers does not change throughout the day, which is not valid if some times of the day are busier than others. So the answer to number 6, whether it is, the question is the exponential distribution reasonable for this situation? Why is it not reasonable for this situation? Because In the given situation, a single customer arrives at a time which may be reasonable, but then you know that when you are in a store, it is not expected nga usaray mo sold. There are some will be in groups, or there are some duha sila kabuok, wherein it will be showing that several customers are arriving at the same time. So it is also assumes that the flow of customers does not change throughout the day, which is not valid if times of the day are busier than other days. So that is an example of your exponential. But then in the exponential distribution, all I have to do is just to ask you the probability when you are going to make use of the formula ko. If it is fixed nga x is equal to 3, so you will have your probability is p is equals to p of 3 is equal to, and then what is given is always the mean, so that you can solve for the decay parameter. So if you will have the mean given and the number of samples that you will have to solve for, or the condition that is given in the problem. So if, for example, your x is equal to 3, so that will be p of 3. Ang x nimo is equal to 3. So equals to, for example, you are given a mean of 3. So ang imong parameter is 1 all over 3. Then you have your Euler's constant, which you know, then it will be raised to the power of minus your 1 all over 3, or the equivalent value in decimal, times your x. So it will be a simple substitution of the value. But then what I want to see is the computed value of your one, of your substitution. So it is just like this one. If you will have this one as your p, and then you are given in the example, or in the problem, x is, for example, is 3 ang imong, and x is equal to, here equals to equals to 3. 3 na dili na wala na ikuan, equals to 3. So ang iyong formula is you have this one. For example, you are given a mean of, formula is m, that is a decay parameter, times e, which is your Euler's constant, and that is raised to the power of minus m times x. Okay, ang inyong mean, supposing you're given a mean of mu, mu ba ng mean? Mu is equal to, mu is equals to 4. So out of the given mean, you're going to solve for your parameter. So your parameter, or decay parameter, is m. So your m is equals to the reciprocal of your mu. Is all over. Yeah. Ora na importante ha. Ang akong giingon nga computed value, inig substitute ninyo diri. This one, after you will have your substitution, for that, you place the kuan computed value labi na kani this one. Di man ninyo butangan og kuan sa equivalent kani this one. Ang you have your Euler's constant, and then you have it raised to the power of minus m times x. Di man na ninyo inyo ram na i-substitute. Then after that one, answer right away mo na mo butang na dayon mo sa inyong answer. Mo na dayon na answer na dayon na ninyo butang. Diretso na dayon answer, which I will not credit kay how do I know nga you know how to use your calculator. Answer na dayon na din na eh. How do I know nga you use your calculator to solve for this kani mo ni importante. Di man na ninyo kung ano, di man na ninyo computon. Inyo ra man i-substitute ang value. And then after that one, you will have to multiply it to m. You place it here before you will have your final answer. Now, if there is the example that we have is if there is no less than this one or greater than this, kana ra diretso ra mo aning substitute. Pero if like for example it is less than, so you will have it the probability 1 minus your Euler's constant raised to the power of minus mx. So if it is greater than, so you will just have to apply as to how you will do it if you will have greater than or less than the kuan probability. Pero kung equal na gid siya sa x, or you will have your x is equal to 3, diretso ra mo aning equation. So for this is for a fixed value of the x. You will have the formula. But then do not give me an answer right away, which most of you are doing. You are not placing me the equivalent. Like for example, sa inyong problem nga na 150 factorial. So, or for example, even if we will have here 12, you are given in the substitution of your values, you have it as 12, then you will have 12 factorial. Like that, 12 factorial. Unya, kanira man gihapon, wala man ni gibutang equivalent ani. So, even if you will not have it kanang representing 12 times 11 ana nga daghan kayo, you have the value of this 12 factorial in your calculator. That is what I want to see. If you will have the value of this, you place the equivalent value all over the denominator nga 5 factorial minus 2 factorial. Pila equivalent sa dato sa denominator. Then after that one, the value of this, when you divide the 2, dili kay batagaan ko ninyong answer. Because I know some of you do not know how to use your calculator. So I will not be asking for the graph anymore, only this one, this application of this formula. And the condition, what you are going to how you will apply. And if I will ask for the distribution and try to look at the answer, the question, dili kay mo diretso sa lang mag-solve, dili mo tan-aw sa question. So you follow what I will be asking. You follow what I will be asking in the given problem. So if the problem will be asking for the probability density function, you try to give your answer in terms of what is being asked. Dili ka mo diretso mo solve the problem. Before I will ask for the actual answer, you try to look at as to what is being asked in the problem. So that is for your exponential distribution. So on Thursday, itagaan ka na mo quiz ani. Because next meeting, I will be discussing the last two topics for the finals, the correlation and the regression, which is very important. Kani it is just very simple. So just follow the formula. Yeah, kung kuhaon ako dito sa kuan, pag-research mo sa kuan, pero you give me the computed value. Dili ka inyo lang kuan. Inyo lang kuan, inyo lang this is magikon. Mao to sa inyong test. So instead of getting the kuan, the correct answer, I did not give a credit kung wala to gi-substitute ang kuan, substitute lang sa formula. Magic man, kay kopyar man. Substitute, square root of kuan, 1 over square root of minus square root of less than or equal to square root of niya, answer right away. Mga nas internet. Pero how did you get that? Square root of, how did you get your z-score? Diretso raman, gimagic raman. Kay bawo ba ka taon tumahimog z-score? Okay, ang akong gikuan I corrected already. Katong wala, katong ingon nag-email kamo abinido, wala pa yung taong ko mag-check ana ay gingnan tanan mo. I will be checking my email. Tanaw na ako ang dungano na ako, dili ko mag tagsa-tagsa kay kapoy kay balhin-balhin. So when I check your work, na kakita na ko wala to, no attachment man to. So I place no attachment 0. Pero inig-check na ko sa email nga naatoy solution niya, naato sa date nga gihatag ang examen. That is the time that I will check your work. Ayaw ko ingna nga gichika na nimo miss kay nato man ko magkuan ay jugog ingna ana kay dili sa yon pag-check sa inyong papel. Pila na ko magsulti ninyo paghuwat mo kay anyway inig-check na ko, inig-record ako sa class record ko kanang blanco nga box akong class record kung blanco na di man ko mo diretso kon ako na una ko i-review ko na una sa LMS nga ano na blanco kay there are times nga naa di ay sa LMS pero na sipyat ko kopya na nakuan ang name sa sigig transfer ang name sana you miss it muna nga usay dili man ko na muna I will always check after the recording. So pag check na ko ana daghan man tong walay na no attachment. I think when I check it mga 4 ka po 5 no attachment. So kung katong mga no attachment is in the email, unya na ayaw mo pag-aygon yung dali-dali Hindi man to mawagtang. Mawagtang lang to when I already record it. Pag kahuman ako tan-aw sa email, and then I will have to record it, the date and what is this? Kung coincide ba sa date diri sa LMS? Ako na i-record, una na ko i-delete sa akong email. Dili kay ko mo na maglagot ko ni kay di mo minaw sa instruction. Kapoy kay sig balik-balik. Kapoy kay sig balik-balik niya ang kana ra ba gyud kargado ra ba gyud mag-ingon ana. The same persons. Nga kun mao na kay lagi atong i-consider nga kuan nga nang unsa ni i-check ka na to. Tanawa sa sunod di ba wa na sa internet niya. Wa na sa to na sa di email na sad. Mao man akong dili gusto. So if I can see it repeated many times, medyo ko mo consider bitaw nagningon ko ninyo, I will always record those found in the email. Na ko notebook ana kay para when you will complain, nakoy record sa kuan nganong wala na nako i-record. Dili kay anang as easy as that nga miss. Kuan miss na wag tang among internet. Kasayon anong kuan. Daghan kay nang ana nya mga the same persons. Ano ang uman ka maka-attach man. Yang uban ay ma-audio pagkawagtang sa internet pag tingpas na. So surprising. Pero kung kausa once or twice, believe kasi bro kadang many times nga the same persons are doing that one. Mo bitaw na ako i-record kay tanaw na ko ini ka final sa naon man na final ko anjud nga. Pila gihap ko na parehas may rason ay oro maghapon ni. Pero hindi ka submit. I will not record that. Don't you worry if you had kuan pero ay lang ko ninyo sulti kay I know what I am doing. Hindi kay ngon ana nga ko kay I'm giving you all the chances to kuan. Mabitaw akong ihatag kanang alang sa unsa na sa internet at least you will try to find out how to solve it kay ba mo ko mag-shortcut. Nya ayaw ko ninyo taga-shortcut. Kay dili man ni magic atong klase. Kung kana lang itong basihan ang naa sa internet, kana na lang, bahala nagdimukibaw sa solution. But then we had discussed how to get the Z-score before you will have that one and get the final answer. Why is it that some were able to do it? Na may ganong mang naay mga perfect. Kung walay maka-perfect, it shows that you do not know nga, wala na ito ma-discuss. We discussed the Z-score and how to get the value from the table. Wala na kayo ko mag-require yung graph. Kaya humanam ng graphing sa first part of the semester. Okay, is that clear to everybody that it will be your semi-final na lang, ha? So this is very easy for a semi-final. Tagaan lang mo chance. Kaya usara man ka, sayo na makaini. It is your semi-final. Remember that semi-final is a major exam. Para we can start on the last few lessons for the finals. Kaya ang usa ka klase na ko is behind. Okay, any more questions? Kanira yung formula ang inyong ikuha na o katong naagay condition nga less than, so it will be 1 minus this one. Ana ra. If it is greater than, so it will be this one, 1 plus ana. Next one. Puro na inyo i-remember for the exponential distribution. Okay, any more questions? Abinido, nakasabot na ka? Sige na. Kadali yung sige pangutana yun. The same yun. Sige pa. Miss, naguan ko, nag-email ko, ano. Pag ako ko, ano, tanaw. Abinido. Uy, ano mo na ano, Abinido? Ha? Hindi ba kang tubag? Kadungog ka na ko, Abinido? Kami na kang usap question? Wala ka kadungog. Kadi ko mo check ato. Kadungog. Ano di ba ka mo tingog niya? Did you hear me, Abinido? Tingog taon eh. Last call, Abinido, did you hear me?
Miss, kinaron tingog miss, madunggan ra?
Madunggan yung tao ka, eh. Kusog bagay ka sa tanan.
Di, kinaron tingog, di, kuan,
Karoon pa
na,
mga
kuan ata,
lagi.
microphone sa, microphone problem ata.
Yeah.
Yes, miss,
Sabot na ka.
sabtar miss.
Okay, so any more questions? Last, wala na. Basta mag-test mo niya. This will be your semi-final. Okay, any more questions? Kaya wala na, I will dismiss the class. Nakatingo, nakatawag siguro ni
And so
Uy.
far, miss.
No more, okay. So mo na, you try your best to get a perfect score for this one. Kasi yun na kayo ni semi-final. Okay, so I will dismiss the class now. Goodbye, class.